It was just another Tuesday morning at Bright Tech Solutions, one of the city's biggest technology companies. The 40-story glass building stood tall against the morning sky, filled with hundreds of employees rushing to their desks with coffee, cups in hand. On the 40th floor, the company's CEO, Miss Rodriguez, was already deep into her work. She had been running the company for over 10 years, and at 45, she was known throughout the business world as someone who got things done. Miss Rodriguez was reviewing the quarterly reports when her phone rang. It was her assistant, Jenny, and she sounded confused. "Miss Rodriguez, I'm sorry to bother you, but there's something unusual happening downstairs at reception. There's a young girl here, and she's asking to see you about a cleaning contract." Ms. Rodriguez looked up from her computer screen and frowned. "A young girl? What do you mean?" "Well, she looks like she's maybe 8 or 9 years old. She's wearing a school uniform and carrying a backpack. She has some papers in her hand, and she keeps saying she needs to see you about her mother's job interview." Miss Rodriguez almost laughed. In her 15 years of running businesses, she had dealt with all kinds of unusual situations, but this was definitely a first. "Jenny, someone is probably playing a prank. Maybe it's one of the employees' kids. Just have security handle it." But Jenny's voice came back through the phone, and this time she sounded more serious. "Miss Rodriguez, I really think you should come down here. This little girl seems very determined, and she's been waiting for almost an hour. She won't leave, and she's not causing any trouble. She just sits there quietly, looking at those papers." Something in Jenny's tone made Ms. Rodriguez pause. She had learned to trust her assistant's judgment over the years. Jenny had been with the company for 8 years and had seen everything. If she thought this was worth attention, maybe it was. "All right, I'll be right down," Ms. Rodriguez said. Saving her work and grabbing her coffee cup as she walked to the elevator, Ms. Rodriguez wondered what she would find. The elevator ride down to the lobby felt longer than usual. When the doors opened, she stepped into the busy reception area where employees and visitors were coming and going. But her eyes immediately found what Jenny had been talking about. There, sitting on one of the leather chairs near the reception desk, was a small girl. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old. Her long black hair was braided neatly, and she was wearing a white school shirt and navy blue skirt. Her shoes were old and worn, but they were clean and polished. Her backpack sat beside her, and she was holding a piece of paper that looked like it had been folded and unfolded many times. Ms. Rodriguez walked over slowly, not wanting to startle the child. As she got closer, she could see that the girl's eyes were focused and serious, not like most children her age who might be looking around at the fancy lobby with its marble floors and expensive artwork. "Excuse me," Ms. Rodriguez said gently, sitting down in the chair next to the girl. "I'm Ms. Rodriguez. I heard you wanted to see me." The little girl looked up, and Ms. Rodriguez was struck by how mature her eyes seemed. They were dark brown and filled with determination, but also with worry. "Yes, ma'am," the girl said, her voice clear and polite. "My name is Lily. My mom was supposed to come here today for a job interview, but she's sick, so I came instead." Ms. Rodriguez blinked in surprise. This was not what she had expected to hear. "You came instead of your mother?" Lily nodded seriously and held up the crumpled paper. "She has a fever and can't get out of bed, but she was supposed to sign this contract today for a cleaning job. She's been looking for work for a long time, and she was so happy when you called her. I didn't want her to lose the job because she's sick." Miss Rodriguez took the paper from Lily's small hands. It was indeed a contract for a night cleaning position at their company. The paper was wrinkled from being carried around, but she could see it was legitimate. "Lily, how did you get here?" Ms. Rodriguez asked, suddenly realizing the implications of what she was hearing. "I took the bus," Lily said matter-of-factly. "Mom taught me which buses to take when she used to bring me to her other jobs sometimes. I used my lunch money for the bus fare." Miss Rodriguez felt her heart skip a beat. This 8-year-old child had navigated the city's public transportation system alone, found her way to a 40-story office building, convinced security to let her through, and made it all the way to the 40th floor, all to make sure her mother didn't lose a job opportunity. Lily, does your mother know you're here? Ms. Rodriguez asked, trying to keep her voice calm. Lily shook her head. She's sleeping. She was up all night coughing, and this morning she couldn't even stand up. I left her a note that I was going to school, but I came here first. I wanted to explain to you that she's not irresponsible. She really wanted to come, but she's too sick. Ms. Rodriguez looked at the small girl and felt something shift inside her chest. In her years of running a business, she had met countless adults who made excuses, who didn't follow through on commitments, who put their own comfort before their responsibilities. But here was a child who had taken on an adult's responsibility, because she understood how important it was to her family. Lily, you said your mother has been looking for work for a long time. Can you tell me about that? Lily's face became even more serious. My dad got hurt at his construction job 6 months ago. He hurt his back and couldn't work anymore. Mom has been doing small jobs, like cleaning houses and watching neighbors' kids, but it's not enough money. She cries sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep. Miss Rodriguez felt a lump forming in her throat. She had grown up in a wealthy family and had never experienced the kind of financial stress that Lily was describing. But she could see in this child's eyes the weight of adult worries that no 8-year-old should have to carry. Last night, Mom was so excited about today, Lily continued. She ironed her best dress and practiced what she was going to say to you. She said this job could change everything for our family. When she got sick this morning, she started crying because she thought she was going to mess up this chance. Miss Rodriguez realized that she was witnessing something extraordinary. This wasn't just a child helping her mother. This was a young person who understood sacrifice, who had acted with remarkable courage, and who had a sense of responsibility that many adults lacked. Lily, you're a very brave girl, Ms. Rodriguez said softly. What you did today took a lot of courage. Lily looked down at her hands. I was scared, she admitted. The building is so big and everyone looks so important. But Mom always says that when you make a promise, you have to keep it. She promised to come today, and even though she can't, I wanted to make sure you knew she didn't break her promise on purpose. Ms. Rodriguez stood up, her mind racing. She had come down to the lobby expecting to deal with a minor disruption to her day. Instead, she had found a story that was touching her heart in ways she hadn't expected. This little girl had just taught her something about integrity, about family loyalty, and about the kind of character that couldn't be bought or taught in business school. Lily, she said, would you like to call your mother and let her know you're safe? And then maybe we can figure out how to help your family. Lily's eyes widened with hope, and for the first time since Ms. Rodriguez had met her, she looked like the child she actually was. Ms. Rodriguez gently placed her hand on Lily's shoulder and guided her toward the elevator. Let's go up to my office where we can talk more privately, she said. As they walked, she noticed how Lily's small hand gripped the contract tightly, as if letting go would mean losing her family's only chance at stability. The elevator ride to the 40th floor was quiet. Lily stood perfectly still, her eyes wide as she watched the numbers climb higher and higher. When the doors opened, she gasped softly at the sight of the executive floor with its polished marble floors and expensive artwork lining the walls. This way, sweetheart, Ms. Rodriguez said, leading Lily to a small conference room near her office. The room had a large window that looked out over the city, and Lily pressed her face against the glass for a moment, amazed at how tiny everything looked from up there. Ms. Rodriguez went to the office kitchen and returned with a juice box and a small package of crackers. When did you eat last? She asked, setting the snacks down in front of Lily. I had breakfast, Lily said, but her eyes lit up when she saw the apple juice. Mom made me eat before I left, even though she was feeling terrible. She said I needed to have energy for school. But you didn't go to school today, did you? Ms. Rodriguez asked gently, sitting down across from Lily. Lily shook her head, looking down at her hands. I know I'm supposed to go to school every day. Mom always says education is the most important thing. But I was worried that if I didn't come here today, you might give the job to someone else, and then what would happen to us? Miss Rodriguez felt her heart tighten. This child was carrying worries that would be heavy for an adult. Lily, tell me about your family. What's been happening at home? Lily took a small sip of her juice and then began to speak. Her voice was steady, but Ms. Rodriguez could hear the sadness underneath. 6 months ago, my dad was working on a big construction project downtown. He was helping build a new office building, and he loved his job. He used to come home and tell me and Mom about all the things he was building. She paused, looking out the window at the city below. But then one day he was carrying some heavy materials and he hurt his back really bad. The doctor said he couldn't do construction work anymore because it might hurt him worse. Miss Rodriguez leaned forward, listening carefully. That must have been scary for your family. It was, Lily nodded. Dad tried to find other jobs, but he doesn't have much education and his back still hurts him sometimes. Mom started looking for work right away, but it's been hard. She used to stay home with me, so she hasn't worked in a regular job for a long time. Lily's voice grew quieter. At first, Mom found some small jobs. She would clean houses for people in our neighborhood, and sometimes she would watch other people's kids. But it wasn't enough money to pay for everything we need. Miss Rodriguez watched as Lily carefully opened the crackers and ate them slowly, making them last. What kind of things has your family had to do without? Well, Lily said, thinking carefully, we moved to a smaller apartment because we couldn't afford the rent on our old place. And we don't eat out anymore, not even for special occasions. Mom cuts coupons from the newspaper and shops at the discount store. She says it's like a game, trying to see how much money she can save. Miss Rodriguez realized that this family was dealing with real hardship, not just temporary difficulties. What about school? Are you able to keep up with your studies? Lily's face brightened a little. I love school. My teacher, Mrs. Johnson, is really nice. She knows things have been hard for us, so she lets me borrow books to take home. I read to Mom and Dad in the evenings. It helps Mom relax when she's worried about money. You read to your parents? Ms. Rodriguez asked, impressed. Mom taught me to read when I was little, before Dad got hurt. She used to read to me every night, but now she's often too tired from working and looking for jobs. So I read to her instead. Sometimes I read job listings from the newspaper, too, to help her find new opportunities. Miss Rodriguez felt amazed by this child's maturity. Here was an 8-year-old who was actively helping her family through a crisis, not just being protected from it. Lily, you mentioned that your mom was excited about this job opportunity. How did she hear about it? Lily's eyes lit up. She saw the advertisement on the bulletin board at the grocery store. She was so happy because it was for night cleaning, which meant she could still be home with me during the day and help me with my homework. She practiced what she was going to say to you for 3 days. She practiced? Ms. Rodriguez asked. Oh yes, Lily said earnestly. She would stand in front of the bathroom mirror and practice introducing herself. She would say, "Good morning, I'm Mrs. Martinez, and I'm here about the cleaning position." She wanted to make sure she said it just right. Miss Rodriguez felt a pang of sadness thinking about this woman, probably nervous and hopeful, practicing for an interview that she then couldn't attend because of illness. Last night, Mom laid out her best dress, Lily continued. It's the dress she wore to my school play last year. She ironed it twice to make sure it looked perfect. She even polished her shoes, even though they're old. What happened this morning when she got sick? Miss Rodriguez asked gently. Lily's expression became worried again. She was coughing all night. I could hear her in the next room. This morning, when I got up to get ready for school, I found her still in bed. She had a fever and she was shivering, but she was trying to get up anyway. She was trying to come to the interview even though she was sick. Yes, Lily nodded. She said she couldn't miss this chance. But when she tried to stand up, she got dizzy and had to sit back down. She started crying because she thought she was going to ruin everything for our family. Ms. Rodriguez felt her eyes getting watery. What did you do then? I told her I would go to school and everything would be okay. I made her some tea and told her to rest. But after she fell asleep, I kept thinking about how sad she was. I looked at the contract on the kitchen table and I remembered the address. I knew which bus to take because Mom and I had ridden that route before when she was looking for work. So you decided to come here instead? Lily nodded seriously. I thought if I could just explain to you that Mom isn't irresponsible, maybe you would give her another chance. I brought the contract so you would know I was telling the truth. Ms. Rodriguez looked at this remarkable child and felt something she hadn't experienced in years of running a business. Here was pure, honest integrity from someone who had every reason to be focused only on her own needs, yet was thinking entirely about her family. Lily, you used your lunch money for bus fare. What were you going to eat at school today? Lily shrugged. I figured I could drink water from the fountain and maybe my friend Jessica would share her sandwich. She's nice like that. Ms. Rodriguez realized that this child had been willing to go hungry to save her mother's job opportunity. The level of sacrifice and maturity was unlike anything she had ever encountered. Your parents raised a very special daughter, Ms. Rodriguez said softly. They should be proud of you. They're good parents, Lily said loyally. They're just going through a hard time right now. But Mom says hard times don't last forever if you keep trying and don't give up. Miss Rodriguez stood up, her mind racing with possibilities. She had come into this meeting expecting to spend a few minutes with a confused child, but instead she had discovered a family that embodied the kind of values she respected most: hard work, integrity, and putting family first. Lily, she said, I think it's time we called your mother and let her know where you are. And then I have some ideas about how we might be able to help your family. Ms. Rodriguez picked up the phone on the conference table and dialed her assistant. Jenny, can you please get me the contact information from Mrs. Martinez? She was scheduled for an interview this morning for the cleaning position. While Jenny looked up the information, Ms. Rodriguez turned to Lily. We need to call your mother right away. She's probably very worried about you. Lily's eyes widened with concern. Is she going to be in trouble because I came here instead of going to school? No, sweetheart, Ms. Rodriguez said gently. But mothers worry when they don't know where their children are. We need to let her know you're safe. Jenny's voice came through the phone with the number, and Ms. Rodriguez dialed it carefully. The phone rang several times before a weak voice answered. Hello? Mrs. Martinez sounded tired and congested. Mrs. Martinez, this is Ms. Rodriguez from Bright Tech Solutions. I'm calling about your daughter, Lily. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. Lily? Is she okay? She should be at school right now. She's perfectly safe, Ms. Rodriguez said quickly. She's here with me in my office. Mrs. Martinez, your daughter came to see me this morning about your job interview. She what? Mrs. Martinez's voice was filled with shock and worry. I don't understand. She left for school this morning like always. Ms. Rodriguez looked at Lily, who was fidgeting with her hands. Mrs. Martinez, Lily was worried about you missing the interview because you're sick. She came here to explain the situation and to make sure you didn't lose the job opportunity. There was silence on the other end of the phone for a long moment. Then Mrs. Martinez's voice came through, and she was clearly crying. I can't believe she did that. I'm so sorry, Ms. Rodriguez. She's never done anything like this before. She's a good girl, but she must have been so worried about our situation. Mrs. Martinez, please don't apologize, Ms. Rodriguez said firmly. Your daughter is remarkable. She showed incredible courage and responsibility today. I'm actually calling because I'd like to discuss something with you. What do you mean? Mrs. Martinez asked, her voice still shaky. Ms. Rodriguez made a decision that surprised even herself. Instead of rescheduling your interview for when you're feeling better, I'd like to come and meet with you today. If you're too sick to come here, then maybe I should come to you. You want to come to our apartment? Mrs. Martinez sounded stunned. Miss Rodriguez, you don't understand. We live in a very small place. It's not fancy like your office. Mrs. Martinez, I don't care about fancy. I care about meeting the woman who raised such an incredible daughter. Would that be okay with you? There was another long pause. I don't know what to say. You would really come here? If you're comfortable with it, yes. Lily can show me the way. Miss Rodriguez heard Mrs. Martinez talking to someone in the background, probably her husband. Then she came back on the phone. Okay, but please understand that we don't have much to offer you. Our apartment is small and simple. All I need is a place to sit and talk with you, Miss Rodriguez said. We'll be there in about an hour. After hanging up, Miss Rodriguez turned to Lily. Your mother is very worried about you, but she's not angry. She's proud of you for being so responsible." Lily's face lit up with relief. "Really? She's not upset?" "Not at all." "Now, are you ready to show me how to get to your house?" Lily nodded eagerly. "We can take the same bus I took to get here. It's the number 42 bus, and it takes about 30 minutes. Ms. Rodriguez smiled. "Actually, I think we'll take my car. It might be a little faster." As they walked to the parking garage, Lily chattered excitedly about her neighborhood and her family. "Our building is old, but the landlord is nice. He let us stay even when Dad couldn't work for a while. And our neighbor, Mrs. Chun, sometimes shares vegetables from her garden." In the car, Lily gave directions with the confidence of someone who knew the city well. "Turn left at the grocery store where Mom looks for jobs on the bulletin board. Then go straight for 4 blocks. Ms. Rodriguez was amazed by how well this 8-year-old knew her way around the city. "Do you and your mother travel around the city often?" "Sometimes," Lily said. "When Mom had to go to job interviews, she would take me with her if it was after school. She doesn't like to leave me alone, and we can't afford a babysitter." As they drove through different neighborhoods, Ms. Rodriguez noticed how the buildings got older and smaller. The area where Lily lived was clearly a working-class neighborhood, but it was clean and well-maintained. "That's our building," Lily sighed, pointing to a 3-story brick building with a small garden in front. "We live on the 2nd floor." Ms. Rodriguez parked the car and looked up at the building. It was modest but neat, with flower pots on some of the windowsills and children's bicycles chained to the front railings. "Are you sure you want to come up?" Lily asked, suddenly looking nervous. "Our apartment is really small." "Lily, I'm honored that you're inviting me to meet your family," Ms. Rodriguez said sincerely. "The size of your home doesn't matter to me at all." They climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor, and Lily knocked on a door marked 2B. The door opened quickly, and Ms. Rodriguez saw a woman in her 30s with the same dark hair and kind eyes as Lily. Mrs. Martinez was wearing a bathrobe and looked pale and tired, but she had clearly tried to make herself presentable. "Miss Rodriguez, I can't believe you actually came," Mrs. Martinez said, her voice still hoarse from being sick. "Please come in. I'm so sorry about the mess." Ms. Rodriguez stepped into the small apartment and was immediately struck by how clean and organized everything was. The furniture was old but well cared for, and there were cheerful touches everywhere: colorful cushions on the sofa, children's artwork on the refrigerator, and books neatly stacked on a small shelf. "Your home is lovely," Ms. Rodriguez said honestly. "You have a beautiful family space here." A man appeared from what looked like the kitchen area. He was tall and lean, with calloused hands and a warm smile, though Ms. Rodriguez could see the worry in his eyes. "I'm Carlos, Lily's father," he said, extending his hand. "I can't thank you enough for bringing our daughter home safely." "It's my pleasure," Ms. Rodriguez said, shaking his hand. "Lily is an extraordinary young lady." Mrs. Martinez gestured toward the small dining table. "Please, sit down." "I'm afraid I don't have much to offer you. We have water, or I could make some tea." "Tea would be wonderful," Ms. Rodriguez said, taking a seat at the table. The chairs were mismatched, but they were clean and comfortable. As Mrs. Martinez prepared tea, Ms. Rodriguez looked around the apartment. Despite its small size, it felt warm and full of love. There were family photos on the walls, and she could see that Lily had a small corner set up as a study area with a desk made from a board and 2 sawhorses. "Lily told me about your family situation," Ms. Rodriguez said gently. "I want you to know that I'm very impressed by how you've handled everything." Carlos shifted uncomfortably. "It's been a difficult time for us. I never imagined I wouldn't be able to provide for my family." "Dad, you do provide for us," Lily said quickly. "You help me with my homework, and you fix things around the house, and you make Mom laugh when she's worried." Ms. Rodriguez watched the interaction between the family members and was struck by how supportive they were of each other. Even in the face of financial hardship, there was clear love and respect in their home. Mrs. Martinez returned with the tea, serving it in mismatched cups that were obviously their best dishes. Ms. Rodriguez, I need to apologize again for Lily missing school and bothering you at work. Mrs. Martinez, please stop apologizing, Ms. Rodriguez said firmly. What Lily did today showed me something important about your family. She acted with courage, integrity, and love. Those are values that can't be taught in school. They come from good parenting. Mrs. Martinez's eyes filled with tears. We try to teach her to be responsible, but sometimes I worry that she has to grow up too fast because of our problems. Let me ask you something, Ms. Rodriguez said. The job you applied for is for night cleaning. Why did you choose that particular position? Because it would allow me to be home with Lily during the day and help her with her schoolwork, Mrs. Martinez said immediately. Her education is the most important thing to us. We want her to have opportunities that we never had. Ms. Rodriguez nodded, understanding now why Lily was so mature and responsible. Her parents had made their priorities clear, and Lily had learned from their example. Well, Ms. Rodriguez said, setting down her teacup, I think it's time we talked about your future with our company. Ms. Rodriguez leaned forward in her chair and looked directly at Mrs. Martinez. First, I want to offer you the cleaning position. You don't need to interview for it. Anyone who raised a daughter like Lily clearly has the character and work ethic we're looking for. Mrs. Martinez's hand flew to her mouth and tears started flowing down her cheeks. Really? You mean it? I absolutely mean it, Ms. Rodriguez said with a smile. But I don't want to stop there. I have some other ideas that might help your family. Carlos reached over and took his wife's hand. We can't thank you enough. This job means everything to us. Dad, does this mean Mom won't have to cry at night anymore? Lily asked, her voice filled with hope. Mrs. Martinez wiped her eyes and pulled Lily close. Oh, sweetheart, I didn't know you heard me crying. Sometimes I get up to use the bathroom and I can hear you, Lily said softly. It makes me sad when you're sad. Ms. Rodriguez watched this tender moment between mother and daughter and felt her heart swell. Actually, Lily, I think there are going to be a lot fewer reasons for your mom to cry from now on. She turned to Carlos. Lily mentioned that you worked in construction before your injury. What kind of work did you do? Carlos straightened up. A bit. I was a general contractor. I did everything from plumbing to electrical work to carpentry. I loved building things, making them strong and beautiful. How is your back now? Ms. Rodriguez asked gently. It's better than it was 6 months ago, Carlos said honestly. I still can't lift heavy things like I used to, but I can do lighter work. I've been trying to find something, but most construction jobs require heavy lifting. Ms. Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. What if I told you that our company has been looking for someone to handle building maintenance? Someone who understands construction and can do repairs but without the heavy lifting? Carlos's eyes widened. Are you serious? That sounds like exactly what I've been hoping to find. I'm completely serious, Ms. Rodriguez said. Our facilities manager has been telling me for months that we need someone with your kind of experience. Someone who can fix things properly the first time, who understands how buildings work. But I don't have a college degree, Carlos said, worry creeping into his voice. Most office jobs require education that I don't have. Carlos, you have something more valuable than a college degree, Ms. Rodriguez said firmly. You have years of hands-on experience and the ability to solve problems. Plus, you raised an incredible daughter who showed more integrity in one morning than many college graduates show in their entire careers. Lily looked back and forth between her parents. And Ms. Rodriguez, does this mean both Mom and Dad will have jobs? That's exactly what it means, Ms. Rodriguez said, watching as the little girl's face lit up with pure joy. Mrs. Martinez was crying again, but this time they were tears of happiness. I can't believe this is happening. This morning I thought we were going to lose everything, and now you have a fresh start, Ms. Rodriguez said, but I'm not finished yet. The family looked at her with curiosity and anticipation. Mrs. Martinez, when would you be able to start work? Ms. Rodriguez asked. As soon as you need me, Mrs. Martinez said immediately. I'm still a little sick today, but I could start tomorrow night if necessary. I think you should take a few days to get completely better first, Ms. Rodriguez said. But I was thinking about your family's immediate needs. Would it be helpful if we could arrange a small advance on your first paycheck? Carlos and Mrs. Martinez looked at each other in amazement. You would do that? Carlos asked, Of course. I understand that you've been struggling financially, and I don't want you to have to wait 2 weeks for your first paycheck to start getting back on your feet. That would be incredible, Mrs. Martinez said. We're behind on our rent, and I've been so worried about what would happen if we couldn't catch up. Ms. Rodriguez made a mental note to arrange the advance payment first thing the next morning. But she had one more surprise for the family. Lily, can you tell me about your school? Ms. Rodriguez asked. Lily's face became animated. I love school. My teacher, Mrs. Johnson, is really nice, and I love reading and math. But sometimes it's hard because we don't have a computer at home, and a lot of the other kids do. What kind of things do you need a computer for? Miss Rodriguez asked. Well, sometimes we have to do research for projects, and I have to go to the library after school. And there are some learning games that help with math and reading, but I can only play them at school. Ms. Rodriguez looked around the small apartment and noticed that while there were plenty of books, there was no computer or even a television. What do you do for fun at home? I read and I draw pictures and Dad teaches me how to fix things, Lily said happily. And Mom and I cook together. We don't need fancy things to have fun. Ms. Rodriguez was impressed by how content this child seemed despite having so little. Lily, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a doctor, Lily said without hesitation. I want to help people who are sick, like Mom was today. That's a wonderful dream, Ms. Rodriguez said. Do you know what you need to do to become a doctor? I need to study really hard and get good grades all the way through high school and college, Lily said seriously. And I need to learn about science and how the human body works. Ms. Rodriguez turned to Carlos and Mrs. Martinez. Would you be interested in having Lily participate in an after-school program that could help her with her studies? What kind of program? Mrs. Martinez asked. Well, this is something new that I'm thinking about starting, Ms. Rodriguez said. What if our company created a program to help children from working families with their education? We could provide tutoring, computer access, and maybe even some fun science activities. Lily's eyes went wide. You mean I could learn about science and use computers? That's exactly what I mean, Ms. Rodriguez said. And you could be the first student in the program. But we couldn't afford to pay for something like that, Carlos said quietly. You wouldn't need to pay anything, Ms. Rodriguez said. This would be free for families like yours. Think of it as an investment in the future. Mrs. Martinez looked confused. I don't understand. Why would you do all this for us? We're just ordinary people. Ms. Rodriguez stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the neighborhood. Mrs. Martinez, do you know what I learned today? I learned that there are extraordinary people living ordinary lives all around us. Your daughter taught me something important about courage and family loyalty. You and Carlos have shown me what it means to maintain dignity and hope even when things are difficult. She turned back to face the family. I've been successful in business, but I've never done anything as brave as what Lily did today. She walked into a building full of strangers, rode an elevator to the 40th floor, and convinced a CEO to listen to her, all because she couldn't bear to see her mother disappointed. She is pretty amazing, Carlos said, pulling Lily close. To him, she is, Ms. Rodriguez agreed. And amazing children come from amazing parents. I want to help your family not just because I can, but because I believe that investing in people like you makes the whole community stronger. Lily looked up at Ms. Rodriguez with shining eyes. Does this mean we don't have to worry anymore about not having enough money? It means you can start focusing on being a kid again, Ms. Rodriguez said gently. And on studying hard so you can become that doctor you want to be. Mrs. Martinez wiped her eyes once more. I don't know how we can ever repay you for this kindness. You don't need to repay me, Ms. Rodriguez said. Just promise me that when Lily becomes a doctor, she remembered to help other families the way we're helping you today. I promise, Lily said solemnly. I'll always remember how you helped us when we needed it most. As Ms. Rodriguez prepared to leave, she realized that this day had changed her as much as it had changed the Martinez family. She had come to work that morning thinking about quarterly reports and business meetings, but she was leaving with a new understanding of what really mattered in life. "I'll call you tomorrow with all the details about both jobs," she told Carlos and Mrs. Martinez. "And Lily, I'll see you soon to talk about that after-school program." As she walked toward the door, Ms. Rodriguez felt something she hadn't experienced in years. She felt like she had made a real difference in the world, not just in a boardroom, but in the lives of real people who deserved a chance to succeed. 6 months had passed since that memorable Tuesday morning when Lily walked into Ms. Rodriguez's office. The Martinez family's life had changed completely, and the transformation was remarkable to witness. Mrs. Martinez had become one of the most trusted employees in the night cleaning crew. Her attention to detail and dedication had impressed everyone, and within 3 months she had been promoted to head of the night shift. She took pride in her work and had developed the reputation for being someone who could be counted on to handle any challenge. "I never thought I would love my job so much," Mrs. Martinez told Ms. Rodriguez during one of their monthly check-ins. "I feel like I'm part of a team and I know that my work matters." Carlos had settled into his role as the building's maintenance supervisor beautifully. His years of construction experience had prepared him well for the job, and he had quickly become invaluable to the company. He could fix anything from leaky faucets to electrical problems, and his friendly personality made him popular with all the employees. "The best part about my job," Carlos shared, "is that I'm building something again. Maybe I'm not constructing new buildings, but I'm keeping this one running smoothly, and that feels good." But the most dramatic changes were visible in Lily. The worried, serious expression that had marked her young face had been replaced by the carefree smile of a child who no longer carried adult worries. She was thriving in school, and her grades had improved dramatically. The after-school program that Ms. Rodriguez had created had become the highlight of Lily's week. Every Tuesday and Thursday she would come to the Bright Tech building after school to participate in tutoring sessions, computer classes, and science experiments. The program had started with just Lily, but word had spread quickly through the neighborhood, and now 12 children from working families participated. "Look what I learned today," Lily would exclaim to her parents every evening, showing them her latest project or explaining a new concept she had discovered. Her dream of becoming a doctor had grown stronger, and she now had the resources and support to make it a real possibility. Ms. Rodriguez had hired 2 retired teachers to run the program, and she often stopped by to see how the children were doing. She was amazed by their enthusiasm and curiosity. These kids, who had been struggling with homework because they lacked resources at home, were now excelling in their studies. "Miss Rodriguez," Lily said one afternoon as she was working on a science project about the human heart, "I want to ask you something." "Of course, sweetheart. What is it? Why did you decide to help us? I mean, you didn't even know us before that day." Ms. Rodriguez sat down beside Lily at the computer station. "Do you remember what you told me that first day? You said your mom always taught you that when you make a promise, you have to keep it." Lily nodded. "Yes, I remember." "Well, that day I made a promise to myself. I promised that I would always remember what you taught me about courage and family loyalty. Helping your family was my way of keeping that promise." The impact of Ms. Rodriguez's decision had spread far beyond the Martinez family. When other employees at Bright Tech learned about the after-school program, many of them volunteered to help. The company's engineers started teaching basic computer programming to the older kids. The accounting department helped with math tutoring. Even the security guards got involved, teaching the children about responsibility and community service. "I never realized how much I would enjoy working with kids," said David, one of the software engineers who volunteered as a tutor. "These children are so eager to learn, and they appreciate every opportunity we give them." The program had caught the attention of local news outlets, and soon other companies in the city were asking Ms. Rodriguez for advice on starting similar programs. What had begun as a way to help one little girl was becoming a model for corporate community involvement. We've had calls from 6 different companies asking about our program, Ms. Rodriguez's assistant Jenny reported. They all want to know how they can help children in their communities. Ms. Rodriguez smiled, thinking about how one child's brave act had created ripples that were still spreading. Set up meetings with all of them? Let's share what we've learned. The Martinez family had been able to move to a larger apartment in a safer neighborhood, though they chose to stay in the same area so that Lily could continue attending her school. Their new home had 2 bedrooms, a proper kitchen, and even a small yard where Mrs. Martinez had started a garden. I never thought I would have my own garden, Mrs. Martinez told her neighbor, Mrs. Chun, as they worked together planting tomatoes and peppers. Carlos built me these beautiful raised beds, and Lily helps me water everything. The family's financial stress had completely disappeared. They were able to pay their bills on time, buy healthy food, and even save money for Lily's future education. But more importantly, they had regained their sense of dignity and hope. We're not just surviving anymore, Carlos reflected one evening as the family sat together in their new living room. We're actually planning for the future. Lily had started a small tradition of writing thank you notes to Ms. Rodriguez every month. Her letters were full of updates about school, drawings of her family, and always ended with a promise to work hard and help others when she grew up. Dear Ms. Rodriguez, her latest letter read, I got an A on my science test about the circulatory system. My teacher said I explained how the heart works better than anyone else in the class. I told her that I learned it from the books you gave me and the computer programs at your office. I also wanted to tell you that I helped a new student at school who was having trouble with math. I remembered what you said about helping others, so I showed her how to solve the problems. She got a B on her test. I can't wait to see you next week. Love, Lily. These letters had become precious to Ms. Rodriguez. She kept them all in a special folder on her desk, and whenever she was having a stressful day, she would read one of them and remember what really mattered. The story of how a little girl's courage had changed multiple lives had become legendary within the company. New employees often heard about Lily during their orientation, and the story served as a reminder of the company's values and commitment to community service. This company is different from other places I've worked, said Maria, a new accountant, who had joined the team. When I heard about how you helped the Martinez family, I knew I wanted to be part of an organization that cares about people, not just profits. Ms. Rodriguez had established a scholarship fund in Lily's name, designed to help children from working families pursue their education. The fund had grown quickly, with employees and other local businesses contributing regularly. The Lily Martinez Scholarship Fund has raised over $50,000. The company's financial officer reported during a board meeting. We'll be able to help 20 students with their college expenses this year. But perhaps the most meaningful change had been in Ms. Rodriguez herself. The experience had reminded her why she had started her company in the first place. It wasn't just about building a successful business. It was about creating opportunities for people to improve their lives and contribute to their communities. I used to measure success by quarterly profits and stock prices, Ms. Rodriguez confided to her business partner. Now I measure it by the number of children we're helping and the families we're supporting. On a warm evening exactly 1 year after their first meeting, Ms. Rodriguez visited the Martinez family for dinner. As they sat around their table, sharing a meal that Mrs. Martinez had prepared with vegetables from her garden, she reflected on how much had changed. Miss Rodriguez, Lily said as they finished eating, I have something to tell you. What is it, sweetheart? I still want to be a doctor, but I also want to start a program to help other kids like me. Kids whose parents are working hard but need some extra help. Miss Rodriguez felt her eyes fill with tears. That's a wonderful dream, Lily, and I have no doubt that you'll make it happen. As she drove home that evening, Ms. Rodriguez thought about the power of one moment to change everything. A little girl's decision to walk into a CEO's office had not only saved her family, but had created a ripple effect that was still spreading throughout the community years later, when business schools would study Ms. Rodriguez's community programs. They would trace it all back to that Tuesday morning when courage walked through the door in the form of an 8-year-old girl who said, "Mom's ill, so I came instead." The lesson was simple but profound. Sometimes the most important business decisions aren't made in boardrooms or based on spreadsheets. Sometimes they're made in the heart. When someone brave enough to ask for help meets someone willing to listen and act with kindness,